I'm trying to get better at this live streams. Try this again. I'm trying to get better at this live stream stuff. But YouTube's fighting me now. I said a thing that I said I was going to go at 5 o'clock, and I look on the screen a couple minutes before 5 o'clock, and it tells me I'm going to do it at 8 o'clock. So apparently, YouTube is using West Coast time. Typical Californian. Anyways, in this video, I want to go ahead and take a look at the crankshaft here. We're going to go ahead and check it and measure it. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I saw something while I was setting it up and doing a quick inspection on it, and the crankshaft doesn't look so good. Let's take a look at it. Yeah, I was hoping I could save it, but apparently I'm going to need to get into the crankshaft, so it's going to add money to the bill. So yesterday when we did the pistons and the block and all that measurement, we found out we didn't need pistons, so I was going to save some money there. And now I've got to go ahead and get a crank kit, which will include the crankshaft and the bearings, if this engine is still feasible to do, because now I need a crankshaft. I haven't looked at the camshaft yet. I'm going to look at that today. And I still got to look at the cylinder head. So, I mean, this may get to a point where it's not going to be worth it to rebuild a 2002 Pontiac Grand Prix with 170,000 miles. It may just be easier to just work on something else instead. Again, we'll see how this goes. Once I have a full price of what it's going to cost me to do all this, then I'll decide from there. But with things keep going this way, it's not going to be that good. All right, let me zoom in. Let me move the camera around so you can see the crankshaft and what I've got set up here. You can see that indicator is too light down. Too light out to me. Let's try. Oh, can we focus? Zoom out a little, maybe we can focus. That might be good enough. Just look at the needle. Maybe you can see it better on the helmet, on the head cam. The head cam. I don't know if you can see it at all on the head cam. But I've got it set to 0 right now. I've got it set up now. This thing was kind of a pain to set up. I bet if it slides back and forth, the V-blocks start to hit the crank and then it jumps and it moves. But I found if I move it smoothly, there's no movement on the dial, which is good. That's exactly what you want to see. This whole thing, so you hit the V-block. Once you hit the V-block, it moved. But we've already turned it more than one whole turn. So that means the crankshaft is straight and flat. So that means if I could use this crankshaft, it would be great to do it. All right. This is a dial indicator. I'm using a. This is actually for my brake rotor kit. I'm using the grip, they call this. I know we want to call them vice grips, but they're locking pliers. Vice grip is a brand name. These are the gripping type, and then you've got the gooseneck, and then you can loosen the gooseneck by moving this lever, and you adjust the tension by tightening or loosening this adjustment nut here, and it allows you to set it up in a lot of different ways. I was looking for my magnetic one that I was going to put a piece of metal and use that one instead, but I couldn't find it. Could be anywhere in what we call a hole of my tools. I'll probably find it tomorrow. All right, so that is the run out of it. Now let's measure the crankshaft rod journals next. Where's our camera point? Camera's pointed. And I'll click this one. Other way. This one. Yeah, let's do this one. Let's do this one. All right. So to use a micrometer, first of all, you want to check to make sure it's accurate, which I have the gauging tools inside there, and I did check this one. It's only a hair off. And then you tighten it till you hear the ratchet, and you move it back and forth to make sure it's in there snug. And if it moves too easy, then you weren't squared. If it's got some drag to it, then it's good. So then you'll lock it, and then you read it. And if you read this, it says that it's just under the smallest number here. This is a 2 to 3 incher. So it's just under 0 because it's rolled back more in than it should be. If it was at the 0, then this would be exactly 2 inches. So this is just under 2 inches. It's at about 1.98, and then this is a vernier. And check the vernier. You look to see which one of these lines line up the best. I'm going to try to put this so you guys can see it. These lines right here. So again, just under the 0 or smaller than the micrometer is supposed to be. So we're at 1.99. That's what that is. 1.99. And then we look for the number that lines up best. That one looks pretty close. And that 0 looks a little off. So the 1, neither one looks closer. Check it one more time. As usual, when we do live streams, I get different numbers. When I do it live stream than when I do it normal. Yeah, about the same. 1.99 and just over 2 this time. Okay, the 2 is closest to being straight. All right, so if we look up our spec, our crankshaft main journal, we are looking for, no, actually rod journal here. Crankshaft. Trust with my rod journal. Here we go, rod journal. 1.9987 to 1.994, and I had 1.9991 and then 2. So that means they're within spec. Okay, it's actually better reading than I had before. And then once I have this locked, I can check the rest of mine, because if they're all the same, I should have the same type of drag. And I can check my taper by going from one side to the other. I can check my out of round by going 90 degrees from that. And I can just go across the entire crankshaft now and check it by feel to see if it's good. Now, if it dragged when I did this, it's going to be tighter. If it fell through loose, then it would be smaller. Get that? This is just a quick way of doing this. I know a lot of times you'll take a class, an engines class, and you'll be measuring all the rods and all the mains, and it'll take you forever because you're measuring each one individually instead of measuring one and going around doing the rest. So my rods are good. Okay, let's go ahead and do the same thing for a main. Now, same size micrometer, just much bigger. This was a 2.6-ish, I think. So roll this out. These bottom numbers here are going to be our first number after the decimal point. 2.5. Make sure you guys can see that. 2.5, 2.6. I'm now over 2.6. So now I go onto a rod main. I tighten it up. Now I'm using the ratchet. The reason why it doesn't matter how you use a micrometer, as long as you use it consistently in the same. I'm using the ratchet because when I used my gauges, I used the ratchet. So when I tighten I tighten the micrometer on the gauging tool. I used the ratchet and then made sure that it said 0 for this micrometer, for any micrometer. I must have tightened it. Well, it wasn't quite on the top. Now we're on the top. Now we lock it down. And now we read this micrometer. So we've got 2.6. Now we use these as quarters, okay? And we haven't quite gone back past the 0, and I see a second line there. So that means I'm going to be just under 2550. So I'm going to be just under 2.650. What I'm going to do is I'm going to minus this, 49, 48, 47. So I'm at 2.647. Now let's see if I'm close enough, or do I need my vernier? My crankshaft main journal, 2.6473 to 2.6483. So that's good. So now let's go ahead and check out the vernier just for how-hos, just because I mean like that. 1's nowhere near, 2's nowhere near, 3 is getting close, 4 looks perfect. So we're going to go ahead and throw that last number on as a 4. So we're looking at, again, 2.6 474, which is 2.674. So according to this, we're just slightly larger than our specifications. How can we be just slightly larger? Well, my micrometer could be a thousandths off or half a thousandths off. That's a possibility. And the way to check that is just take your 2-inch standard, because it was cold when I took it out of the box. Now it feels warm. But guess what that means? Guess what happens when you're working in a cool basement? Cool basement. We're going to call it cool, not cold. And then you pick up a tool, and it gets warm. Oh no, it's dead on. It's dead on. It's, probably should look at the burn area hair off, but it's dead on. It's better. It's more on now than it was before. Let's measure it again. Let's measure a different one. Let's measure the one with the Did I measure on that one? I thought I didn't check them both. Log it. So 987. 987. Maybe we just passed the 7. Now let's see what we lined up to. 7. Now we're closer to. Now we're close to lined up to 3. So now we're right at the top side of the spec. And again, when you're looking at vernier numbers, you're looking at very tiny tolerances. All right, and what we do is we do the same thing I said before. We check the rest. That's the same. Check if we're out of round. I might have trouble with this one because that's the one that we had issues with. Nice. This one's gonna be tough. I gotta make sure I'm on the part. That's good. So it's fine. This crankshaft will be fine, except for one little problem. Go ahead and zoom this sucker in over here so you can see it. So that's when I was doing a closer inspection. Put my finger right here. Go ahead and try to zoom in all the way in. Turn this sucker a little bit to the correct direction. Can you see that on the screen? Looks like we can see. There we go. Now we see it. See that right there? See that little sumbitch right there? I think this is what took my motor out. The reason why I say that is because if I look at it really close, let me go ahead and get closer so you guys can see it. Hopefully you guys can see this. If you look close, it's below the bearing surface. So what I think happened is a defect in the steel, flaked off steel, that got jammed up in the bearing bottom right here, and then became a cutter. And scraped this bearing out until something got wedged up in here and locked up the motor. That's what I think happened now, because that right there is in the steel. I thought maybe it was on top of the steel, so I tried to chisel it out, and you can see, I don't know if you guys can see, you can see it's potted and picked, and below, right there, it's below, get a pick. Right there, it is below the bearing material right there, or right below the journal. So that tells me that a defect that took 170,000 miles to show up, flaked this off, and caused this to happen, because it's right in line with what happened. I mean, you can see it's right in line with what happened. It's literally dead nuts in the stinking middle, and right in line with where it gouged. So what are the chances of this defect happening? And it looks almost like somebody welded a bead on here. What it really looks like right here, where it's chipped out. It's below. You guys probably can't see that. I feel how this is dropping. When I do that, it's dropping. So it's flat dropping. So I think this whole piece right here flaked off. That's what caused all of this. So it's nice to know what happened. Not nice to have to pay money to do a crank. Now, options for a crank, find a crank kit. There aren't too many crank kits out there for this thing. I did see a few floating around on eBay, so I'm going to see if that one's still available for $145 with no core. Otherwise, I would need to send this out and have it machined. It's going to take time. It's going to take money, more money than I actually want to spend on this motor. So if I can't get the $145 one, I think that's probably going to be it for this motor. So that's it for the crankshaft. As far as storing it standing straight up, it really doesn't matter anymore because it's no good. It sure is nice to know that it was in good shape until that sucker flaked. All right, take a look at the camshaft now. So we're going to do the same thing I did before. I'll try to do the same thing I did before. I'll readjust that camera in a second. Just get this set up. Put this on here. Tight. Camshaft should work out better. I'm going to put this on. Look at that. Just lost the camera, that's what that is. What I like to do is tighten this up until it's got sluggishness. Then hit this rod. Let me check this camera because I apparently just lost the camera. That beeping was all about. Minimize you. Recoil you. Get live preview again. See what happens. Doesn't look like we're going to get a live preview. Let me go ahead and shut that one off. Let's go ahead and just use this one camera then. I'll just have to be more cautious about what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. Can you see that dial? Not really. Zoom out a little bit. Shadows, man. It's shadows. Try killing the center light. There we go. Dark, but you can see it. Alright, now let me try zeroing this sucker. Problem with zeroing things is you have to chase it sometimes. I normally won't zero a gauge like this. I'll just watch it and see where it goes. Might be what we'll do. Yeah, it's pretty close. Alright, can you see that? Yeah, you can see it. Go ahead and rotate this sucker. Ideally, you want it to be perfectly straight like this one is. A little movement there. It'll come back up. Yeah, it's coming back up. So we got about a thousandth there. Not too bad. Alright, that's not too bad. Go ahead and turn the light back on. Go ahead and turn this light back on. Because we're done with this one. You only have to check it once in the middle. There's no point in checking it here because you want to be ideally in the middle. But anywhere will work as long as you're doing it in the right spot. Alright, let's go ahead and measure this main journal. Got this 1 to 2 inch micrometer here. We're going to do the same thing. Open her up. Feel it for some drag. Go. Lock her down. So we're looking at 1.8. We're past the 5 zeros. So we're gonna have to add 15 to 5 0. So that's gonna be 6 5, 6 7, 6 8, 6 9. So 1.869. 1.869. Now normally you write the stuff down. 1.869. Camshaft journal 1.868 to 1.869. That's perfect. So let's see if we can get this in here. You can see it. It can be that one right there. I don't know if you can see it. I don't know if it's focusing enough. I can't see the screen too well. It's not a macro lens. There we go. So 1.069. All right, so that is that. Now, if I wanted to measure lift, which is not something I'm really that interested in, I could use the dial indicator, zero it at the lower part. I could zero it at the lower part, and then count how many times it turns, and then watch it when it gets on the raising point, and I would know from there that my lift was good. I see things like I'm not interested. Another way I am interested, but just not interested in doing it on camera because it's tedious work and checking all of them. But what you can do is you can check the base this way. Okay. You can measure the base. That looks like it's just under 3. So 7.5 plus 15. So 9, 0 plus 191. So 1.291 at the base. And then what you could do is write that down if you feel so lucky. And you could do this. You can measure that, which is 1.555, we'll call it, and then do the math, and then look to see if you're within spec. I am not going to do that. Why? Because I can tell by looking at these cam lobes that they are not at all worn. You will usually see that when a camshaft gets worn, it will bullnose over. You won't have such a nice high peak and roll, a nice high peak and roll, nice high peak and roll. These are Babbitt bearings, which means they are supported by oil pressure. Same thing with the rods and same thing with the mains. The only thing that supports those is oil pressure. Those did not wear at all. I had a flaked off piece of steel on my crank, but they did not wear off at all. These right here have rollers on them. These have rollers on them, meaning they roll along and they lift and close. And if I thought that there was a problem, then there would be a problem here. This would be you either have a flat on here, or it'd be chipped, or sometimes on some of the V8s, the pins fall out of here. This would be bullnosed, that sort of thing. So I'm not too worried about that. So I'm not going to go ahead and measure the camshaft. It's fine. This 1,000ths wobble, much better than expected for 170,000 miles. The crankshaft was very straight. Just a damn shame that that piece of steel flaked off, causing my issue at 170,000 miles. This is very round. Chances of this being a problem are very slim, and I would see it. You would see it. And you know, I tell many different students that I have, when you have a problem, you'll see it, like that crankshaft. You'll see the problem. Now, if that journal was worn due to age and wear, my main bearings or my rod bearings, there would be no Babbitt material left. The Babbitt material is the lead and tin that are up on here. Kind of looks like aluminum, but it's not. That's probably what I thought was aluminum. Probably because it was polished, and it just fooled me into thinking it was aluminum. Underneath here is a copper backing, and when you see that copper, your bearing is worn, and there's like no wear on this bearing at all at 170,000 miles. So it's just a shame that that crankshaft had a defect. That's really it. Sorry I lost the camera, but you know that camera is just point of view. So, I have to be more cautious about cameras, aiming and stuff. I don't want to go crazy by using more cameras, because the more cameras I have, the more I have to be conscious with. So that's why I'm trying to stick with the two, the head camera and the and the regular camcorder there. I do want to keep making these videos. I would like to go outside and actually show you guys how to to work on the cars. I have this car that I like to put that together or send it to the junkyard, depending on how this goes. Full engine job goes. I have another car out there that's literally loaded with parts that I ordered already for videos that I was gonna do. I've decided to do them outside now, just because I do want to make videos. I would like to live stream these videos, because to me it's a very quick production. How it's going to work outside, I don't know, because I do live right near the highway, so it's a little noisy out there. So I'm gonna have to learn how to use noise filters. That's what I want to do. Another added note for those guys who are still listening, or come on and watch this later. I do take on Amazon and I look at all the tools that I use or would buy if I was going to buy them now, and I do put those links below. And I've been doing that since I started the live stream thing. So if you looking at a live stream and you see something that I'm using and you want to know what it costs, go ahead and click on it, and that'll give you a link to where it is, and go ahead and buy it if you want. So most of the tools that I put there are not expensive tools. I mean, they're good quality tools, but they're not expensive tools. These are Fowler brands micrometers that I have here, and I showed you guys the set that I have. It's a 0 to 12-inch micrometer set. I bought that off eBay used. The reason why they have these labels on them is because it came from a factory, and these certification labels is when they had them checked last back in October of 2004. I got this set for how much it would have cost me to get a 0 to 5-inch set new. And again, I put a link in the description for a 0 to 4-inch set. 5-inch set would be like if you're doing the V8 Chevy or V8 Ford. Those sometimes the pistons are larger than 4-inch. And if you want anything bigger, you have to go bigger. So I did 0 to 4-inch, which is for a small motor. But if you need a 5-inch, that's fine too. Micrometer sets have come way down in price for quality. That's fine. This set right here is also Fowler. I like to use Fowler. This is a Fowler. I like to use Fowler stuff because Fowler is a great brand. That does not mean that's what I put in the description. That's just what I prefer to use. That's just me. I just prefer to use that. That's really it. Thanks for watching. I look forward to doing some more videos tomorrow. I plan to, whether it happens or not, that's something else. I plan to live stream again, and we're going to check out the heads. Hopefully we can get both cameras to work again. I gotta find out what happened to that second camera, the head cam. I like that camera because it shows you what I'm doing, and when it comes to working on stuff outside, that's the one I want to rely on for showing you what I'm doing. So I gotta figure out what happened. It might have just disconnected from the Wi-Fi. I didn't have time to check it. I have no technical guy here. I'm the technical guy, so when stuff goes wrong, guess who you can blame? Me. All right. That's really it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.